Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Today, I'm going to talk about not as much of a fun topic. I'm going to talk about the whole Russell Wilson situation with the Denver Broncos, and in addition to that, how we've seen a theme of that kind of behavior from organizations and front offices in the past few years or so, and why we've seen an increase of it, or why I think we do. We're going to get right into that. So, as most of you probably know, this week it came out that Russell Wilson, the quarterback for the Denver Broncos, was benched for the final 2 games of the season. Jared Stidham will get the start for both. Russell Wilson will be active for these games. But the big story wasn't necessarily the fact that he was benched. It's not uncommon that people bench starters or whatever when the season is either over or you can't advance in seeds or whatever. But it was why he was being benched and how that came about. It came out that after the Kansas City game, like a month ago, which the Broncos won, they came to Russell Wilson and asked him to readjust his contract because there was an injury guarantee that was like $37 million or something, and they didn't want that on the books or whatever. It's like, I get it. Like, you don't want that money on the books because you want to do stuff. I get wanting to adjust contracts, but there's ways to do it. And what they did was threaten Russell Wilson, saying, if you don't do this, we're going to bench you. That, I heard like the NFLPA got involved, but I don't know like what extent that changed. He did play for the rest of the season except this final 2 games. But that's obviously one of the most disrespectful, one of the most, I want to say, hostile actions I've seen an organization make against a well-respected and highly touted player in the league who's probably a future Hall of Famer. And this would be bad for anyone. But like the fact that we're seeing it against Russell Wilson, it's just kind of wild. It's jarring and it's not right. There was great responses from people in the media this week, which is normally not common these days in sports media because of, hot take culture and whatnot. But when listen to Ryan Clark and Shannon Sharp this week, listen to bits and pieces from them. They said that like they called Sean Payton to carpet. Ryan Clark was like, "Listen, dude, from jump, you set Russell Wilson up to fail. It was screaming in his face. It was telling him no kissing babies or whatever, like you're on a campaign." And Ryan Clark was like, Drew Brees did that more than anyone. And now Russell Wilson, it's a problem because Sean Payton is a guy that wants it his way, and when it's not his way, he's going to act a certain way till it gets his way. He was given a large sum of money to coach the Broncos, who traded a first-round pick to get him to Denver from New Orleans. And he decided from the jump that Russell Wilson was not going to be his guy no matter how good he did. Another thing Ryan Clark said, there was nothing Russell Wilson could have done to save his job in Denver. That was gone the moment Sean Payton got in the door. It was not right. It was by no means right. And when we talk about the money side, this is where I really respected Shannon Sharp's take on it. He was like, what owners like to do is paint the athletes as the bad guy, as the millionaires that won't adjust their money or won't sacrifice their money, when they're billionaires that are controlling this and pulling the strings. It's the billionaires making the millionaires look bad. And he was calling out athletes to stop taking these pay cuts. Stop. These owners can figure it out. But when you get to these situations where they're forcing you to make pay cuts and they're trying to take advantage of you, then it's an issue. Because there's one thing, like I said before, there's one thing working out a way to free up some money. Like we see restructured contracts all the time. Players don't care to restructure a contract. But when you say that you need to readjust your contract so we don't have to pay you $37 million, however way, like whatever guarantees it was. I don't know the specifics of the contract, but $37 million was on the table, off the table, whatever. When you do that as a threat, we have problems. And I think the thing that this whole Russell Wilson situation brings to light is the fact that it's not only him, especially recently. It hasn't been only him. I think you saw not even like last year. Derek Carr it was a similar situation. It was Derek Carr. Well, he's been a Raider. He was the Raiders quarterback for almost a decade, if not a decade, and they just decided, you know what? Last 2 weeks, it was new coach. He was like, last 2 weeks, you're not my guy. I don't want you to get hurt because if we can get value for you, I want you to be able to have value. So don't get hurt. So they benched him again for Jarrett Stidham. Poor Jarrett did not ask to be in these situations, but unfortunately he has been. So yeah, and Derek Carr felt very disrespected, and because of how much he gave to that organization, there didn't come much winning from that, but years of playing of great quarterback play at times. He was a good quarterback. And it was just the blatant disrespect. And I have a list of more players, and I think and coach. And I think it really highlights the treatment owners have over black players specifically, how there is a way that they try to throw them under the bus quicker and are reluctant to give them the benefit of the doubt in any situation. You see Lamar Jackson, his whole contract situation, and we saw all these quarterbacks like Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, like get this money like immediately. And Lamar Jackson has been in the league much longer than them. Well, not much longer, a few years longer. He did not get a deal immediately, and they kept waiting, pushing off a year, another year, and then it came to the time where he was going to become free agent, and they tagged him, and he requested a trade, and they didn't trade him because they kind of wanted to control the situation. And when teams could have negotiated with him, they tapped out. We had the quote from like some lady on the radio saying she wants her quarterback's quarterbacky, which we all know what that sounds like. It does not take a rocket scientist to dissect what that sounds like and what that is. And there has been a stigma against the way Lamar Jackson plays, because it is not a traditional quarterback play from what we've seen for 70 years. And there is still that stigma, even though Lamar Jackson is one of the best quarterbacks in the league and has one of the best regular season records. And we can talk about the postseason records, but also, like, you can say that for anyone. It's not a Lamar Jackson thing. It's not his skill set thing. When Lamar Jackson has played for the Ravens, they've won games. Plain and simple. It's night and day difference. And they were reluctant to give him money. And now they did give him money. And they better be thanking the heavens that no one gave him a deal and that he was able to stick around long enough for them to give him a deal. And if we want to go to the more coaching side of it, I talked about this in my older channel. The whole Brian Flores situation. How he was brought into coaching for the Miami Dolphins, and he was told that we want to tank on purpose for whatever reason. I think it was because they wanted to, which they ended up getting. And Brian Flores was not up for that, so he felt he was set up to fail. And we talk about the Art Rooney rule, where you have to interview a set amount of minority coaches for a head coaching job. So when he was fired from that Dolphins job, probably unrightfully fired, he was interviewing for these teams, and it just seemed like they were doing it to do it, and he wasn't a real consideration for these jobs. There's the whole thing with Belichick, how he sent a text to Brian Flores saying you got the job at the Giants, but he actually was meant to be for Brian Daboll, which is just, it made it all so much worse. It was a disaster of a situation. So you see how they're in a league where there is not a ton of black coaches. We're seeing more come in, which has been really cool. But then one of the really good coaches in the league be disrespected and have to take a back seat for a year. He was like a defensive advisor or linebackers coach with the Steelers, and now he's back as a defensive coordinator. I don't know if they're going to give him a job back at a head coach because they don't like how he sued the league or whatever. He might be screwed over a bit. And now this is not even like just a football thing, because if we look at the NBA, for example, Russell Westbrook on the Lakers 2 years ago, especially, he assembled this team of LeBron James' friends, basically, and they were a bunch of older guys who used to be really, really good. And they weren't really, really good together. It was really bad. It was very bad. And Russell Westbrook has always been a polarizing player, so it was so easy to point the finger at him and his mishaps and his whatever. And you can see he's balling right now. He was not the end of his career or anything. He still has plenty of good ball left in him. But when you have the scapegoat label put on you and it endorsed by the organization when they're moving you to the bench and then they're trying to trade you and then they do trade you, it's like it just supports that and it puts you in a terrible position. And we see with John Morant. This is more of a league thing, not particularly organization thing, even though as soon as the Instagram lives happened, they suspended him immediately. But we see with Josh Giddey and the Thunder, he's still playing, even though he's under investigation. So it's it's suspicious. And now you see guys like Miles Bridges still playing when John Morant got suspended for over a quarter of the season for a live video that didn't harm anyone. And Miles Bridges did harm people, and he just had a year off and then got more money. And then he's probably going to get even more money next year. And he gets to play again. And you see Draymond Green, who was assaulting NBA players on and off the court. And there was very little to no punishment for him his entire career. And he finally gets punished, and people... I think people are finally sick of him, but it took way too long. So you see, again, there's favoritism in these leagues, and whatever that favoritism stems from, it exists. So yeah, it's just what I think is one of the reasons for organizations kind of flexing this power and doing whatever is the rise of player empowerment in sports in general. We see players more quick to request a trade if they don't like the situation they're in, to fight for money that they think they deserve and not let the organization control as much of it, which you should. You should get as much money. You should be in a situation you want to be in. And I feel like, especially in basketball, but also in football, we see that become more common, which is great. You're playing in this league, you're putting your body on the line year in, year out. Yes, you're getting paid a lot, but it's a big industry. You're going to get paid a lot. And I think the owners are like, you know what, we're going to, if they want to push a little, we'll shove back 2 times harder, and now you're mistreating players, and it's kind of a mess. That might not be it, but that's kind of what I'm sensing. So just let me know what you think. I'd love to hear input from y'all on what you think of the whole situation. Make sure to share this video. Let me know what you think of what I said. If you agree, disagree, we can have a conversation. So yeah, hopefully my next video is more happy, because I like sports because they make me happy. and this week did not make me happy. Yeah, so hopefully playoffs are soon. The NBA is getting very, very exciting. We had a trade today. Maybe I'll talk about that on a TikTok. But yeah, it's very exciting. So hopefully we'll start to get some fun content in soon. All right, see ya. Peace.